Lady Diana spent much of her life under constant public attention. Her image was splashed across headlines and magazine covers. But behind the glamorous photos the world adored were private moments, rarely seen snapshots that never made the news cycle. Now, many of those hidden glimpses are resurfacing. Were they simply the reflections of a young woman longing for freedom? Or do they reveal a side of Diana that completely rewrites what we thought we knew about her? Join us as we uncover what these candid photos truly reveal, and why they matter now more than ever. The world watched Diana Spencer transform from a shy kindergarten teacher into the most photographed woman on Earth. Yet, between the state dinners and charity galas, there existed another Diana, one who kicked off her heels to race barefoot with her boys down palace corridors, one who snuck out for late-night trips to McDonald's, one who found peace in small, stolen moments of normality. Born into British aristocracy on a warm summer day in 1961, Diana's childhood at Park House should have been ideal. With miles of Sandringham estate to roam, siblings to play with, and ponies to ride, it seemed like a fairy tale beginning. But beneath the privilege lay fractures that shaped her entire future. When her parents' marriage collapsed, Diana became a child of two homes shuttled between parents who could barely stand each other. She would later admit to friends that she never truly shook the feeling of being unwanted, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. That instability carved a strange paradox into her personality. She longed for love and approval, yet never fully trusted it when it arrived. Even as the crowds adored her and the press couldn't get enough, Diana would return to Kensington Palace feeling hollow. Her struggles with bulimia began early in her marriage, a painful secret hidden behind glamorous gowns and a dazzling smile. Depression crept in as well. "I began to realize what was going on in my mind," she once confided, though no one would have guessed it from the radiant images splashed across front pages. But here's what the tabloids missed. Diana had a rare gift for finding light in the darkness. William and Harry changed everything for her. Yes, there were nannies and royal protocols, but Diana often threw those rules aside. She took her boys to theme parks, letting them wait in line with everyone else. She blasted pop music in the car, all three of them singing at the top of their lungs. There were the unguarded moments the Times Harry made, funny faces while she tried to keep a stern expression. Or William whispered something that made her throw her head back in laughter. Those were the moments when you saw the real woman behind the tiara. But what happened when Diana stepped beyond her role as mother and into the wider world? How did someone who endured such personal pain manage to transform her suffering into compassion for others? Her struggles became her superpower. Because Diana knew what it felt like to be an outsider, she gravitated toward people society preferred to ignore. That famous moment in 1987, when she held hands with an AIDS patient, staged for cameras, she continued visiting long after the headlines faded, sitting with patients for hours, simply talking. The same was true of her landmine walk in Angola. It wasn't a PR stunt, it was a genuine effort to understand the struggles of devastated communities. Friends recalled how she would show up unannounced at hospitals in the middle of the night with no entourage, no press. She'd sit with patients who couldn't sleep, hold premature babies in the NICU, or chat with janitors during their breaks. One nurse even remembered Diana helping her stack chairs after a support group, casually talking about her own therapy sessions as though it were the most normal thing in the world. The dazzling tiaras and jewels told one version of Diana's story, but the blurry, unposed snapshots told another. In one, she was spotted sneaking into a cinema in jeans and a baseball cap. In another, she was laughing so hard she had tears streaming down her face at a private joke no one else understood. Diana contained multitudes. She was the world's most famous woman, yet often desperately lonely, a humanitarian wielding soft power while fighting inner battles no camera could capture. Even 27 years after that tragic night in Paris, the world is still trying to make sense of her. Perhaps it's because Diana refused to be just one thing. She was a fairy tale princess and a scorned wife, a devoted mother and a fragile soul, a humanitarian and, at times, a reluctant public figure. She was gloriously, heartbreakingly human. And that's why those candid moments matter so deeply. They remind us that behind every public figure lies a private person fighting battles the world may never truly understand. Some people are born with a kind of instinctive kindness that can't really be taught. Diana was one of them. After finishing school, she didn't chase fame or a glamorous career. Following an intense custody battle, the Spencer children eventually lived with their father, but Diana carved her own path. She worked as a nanny for families in London and later at Young England Kindergarten as a teacher's assistant. Her days were spent finger painting, reading stories, and laughing as toddlers clambered over her. On the surface, those jobs might have seemed ordinary, but they revealed everything about who Diana truly was: patient with tantrums, gentle with the shy ones who reminded her of herself, and radiant when she could turn a child's tears into laughter, and storytime suddenly become the most famous woman in the world. What happened when the palace came calling? The engagement that changed everything. Diana's life flipped upside down on February 24, 1981, when Buckingham Palace announced her engagement to Prince Charles. Overnight, the 19-year-old kindergarten teacher became the center of the world's attention. They had known each other through Britain's aristocratic circles, where everyone seemed somehow connected. But their romance was brief, fast-moving, and awkward. Charles was 12 years older, already hardened by royal duty, while Diana was barely out of her teens. Still, the press fell head over heels for the fairy tale. Headlines celebrated the shy blonde who had captured the bachelor prince. But beneath the glossy engagement portraits, cracks were already showing. Body language experts noticed how little they touched, how often they seemed disconnected. Yet Diana played along. What else could she do at 19, when the entire British establishment had decided she was perfect for the role? Perfect, as she would soon discover, meant something entirely different within palace walls. Behind the scenes, Diana was already struggling. The media criticized her every move. Royal life, so rigid and suffocating, felt harsher than anything she had faced. In her kindergarten classroom, and yet, the world was preparing to crown her a princess. When Diana stepped into the glass coach on her wedding day, wearing that iconic silk taffeta gown with a 25-foot train, she carried secrets that would have shocked the 750 million people watching worldwide. Behind the veil and nervous smile, she was already battling bulimia, already sensing Charles's heart belonged elsewhere, already drowning in expectations she could never escape. As she entered St. Paul's Cathedral, cameras caught her gripping her father's arm so tightly her knuckles turned white. The world thought it was just wedding nerves, but Diana later admitted she had been fighting the urge to run, knowing it was too late to turn back. Still, she walked down that impossibly long aisle, a 20-year-old girl just months removed from teaching storytime, stepping into a life where every smile would be analyzed, every tear photographed, every move scrutinized. She was supposed to live happily ever after. But what happens when the fairy tale starts to crack? Candid moments on tour and at home. Some of the most powerful photographs of Diana weren't taken at grand state events, but in moments when her guard was down. During her 1992 trip to Egypt's pyramids, photographer Anwar Hussein remembered her worrying about posing perfectly for the cameras. Once the formal shot was taken, Diana suddenly relaxed. "I'm having the most terrible day," she joked, throwing her arms wide before breaking into genuine laughter. That one unposed image revealed the real Diana, playful, imperfect, human dot at a Luciano Pavarotti concert in London. Rain poured down. While everyone rushed to raise their umbrellas, Diana noticed the people behind her couldn't see. So she lowered hers and sat there, completely drenched, while others stayed dry. A photographer caught the moment: the princess, soaked to the bone, choosing consideration over comfort. In 1993, during a visit to Nepal, another photo captured her gently cupping the face of a destitute woman. The look in Diana's eyes, genuine concern, raw empathy, spoke louder than any royal speech. Over the years, her photographs told a story of transformation. Early on, she was dubbed Shy D, her head often bowed in public. But by the mid-1990s, Diana had grown into a confident figure, meeting the camera's gaze head-on, commanding attention in elegant gowns. She had learned to control the lens, instead of letting it control her. But some of her most treasured photos were with William and Harry. Determined to give her boys as normal a childhood as possible, she took them to theme parks, fast food restaurants, and on everyday adventures. She knelt to their height when speaking to them, hugged them fiercely, and taught them to face challenges head-on. One unforgettable moment in 1993 captured the princes throwing their arms around Diana after she returned from a trip abroad. Their smiles, pure and unposed, radiated happiness in those unguarded embraces. The world saw the real Diana mother who adored her children above everything else. But behind those glowing family photographs, darker struggles lingered. What was Diana really battling in silence, and how did those private battles shape the woman the world thought they knew? Diana's struggles and secrets behind the glamour. Diana faced painful truths. Not long after her marriage began, she developed bulimia nervosa. Years later, she would speak openly about the illness, but at the time, it was her hidden battle. Diana's eating disorder became her secret way of coping with the intense pressure and isolation of royal life. After William's birth, she also battled postnatal depression. As her marriage unraveled, the loneliness and self-doubt only grew stronger. To friends, she admitted she often felt completely worthless, something almost impossible to believe, given how deeply the public adored her. In 1991, as her marriage was collapsing, Diana secretly recorded tapes with her friend James Colthurst. On them, she spoke candidly about Charles's affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, her struggles with bulimia, and even her attempts to take her own life. She described feeling trapped, unloved, and dismissed within the royal family. Journalist Andrew Morton later turned those recordings into his explosive book, Diana, Her True Story, Published in 1992. At the time, Diana publicly denied involvement. But after her death, Morton revealed she had been his primary source all along. That admission completely transformed how the world saw Diana and the monarchy. The book revealed shocking details, Diana confronting Charles about his affair, declaring, "I refuse to be the only Princess of Wales who never had a mistress." Charles allegedly replied, "I love Camilla." For many, those words shattered the fairy tale image. The tapes also revealed Diana's darkest struggles. She admitted to throwing herself down the stairs while pregnant and harming herself with razors to cope with emotional pain. Morton later said he was stunned by her desperation and her willingness to speak so openly. For readers, the book stripped away the glossy image and introduced a Diana who was vulnerable, flawed, and achingly human, someone whose struggles mirrored those faced by countless others in silence. But despite her demons, Diana found strength in helping others. What gave her that courage? Charitable work and activism. Diana's humanitarian work remains one of her greatest legacies. Even before her divorce was finalized, she was using her fame to champion causes that others avoided. In 1987, she opened the UK's first hospital ward for HIV/AIDS patients. At a time when fear and misinformation about the illness dominated public perception, the moment that defined her came when she shook hands with an AIDS patient without gloves. "HIV does not make people dangerous," she said. "You can shake their hands and hug them." That one simple gesture challenged stigma worldwide. Nelson Mandela later remarked that Diana had changed the course of history in the fight against HIV. She also became the global face of the campaign against landmines. In January 1997, she traveled to Angola with the Halo Trust. The photographs of Diana in protective gear, walking through an active minefield, made headlines around the world. She sat with children who had lost limbs, listening to their stories and giving them a voice. Her involvement generated enormous public pressure on governments. That same year, the Ottawa Treaty to ban landmines was drafted and many credited Diana for making it a global issue. After her divorce, Diana took more control over her image and her life. She supported hospitals, youth shelters, and organizations for the homeless. She often brought William and Harry along, teaching them to look people in the eye, to listen, and to understand privilege. At the same time, she explored new freedom. Paparazzi photos from 1996 showed her leaving the gym in biker shorts and a sweatshirt, a casual look that instantly became a trend. She experimented with fashion, sometimes sharp and professional, other times glamorous and bold. In her personal life, Diana fell in love with heart surgeon Hasnat Khan, whom she privately called the love of my life. Later, she began seeing Dodi fade, the son of Egyptian billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed. But tragedy struck on August 31, 1997. Diana and Dodi were killed in a car crash in Paris's Pont de l'Alma tunnel as paparazzi pursued their vehicle. Their driver, Henry Paul, also died. Investigators determined he had been intoxicated and driving at high speed. Though conspiracy theories spread worldwide, no evidence of foul play was ever found. Still, the loss was devastating. The global outpouring of grief was unlike anything the modern world had seen. What the photos reveal, when we look back at thousands of images of Diana, both public and private, a powerful truth emerges. As a child, she was curious and affectionate. As a young bride, hopeful yet overwhelmed. As a mother, fiercely protective. And as a humanitarian, committed to giving hers to those who had none. The photographs also show her playful side, the Diana who pulled silly faces with William and Harry, or cheekily stuck out her tongue at photographers. She never lost that spark, but they also reveal the cost of fame. Diana's life was documented at an unprecedented scale. Yet she often felt imprisoned by the very attention that made her famous. In one of her private recordings, she confessed, "I don't want expensive gifts. I just want someone to be there for me." The photos of her lowering her umbrella in the rain, hugging AIDS patients, and walking through a minefield show how she chose kindness, empathy, and courage over protocol. They remind us that true legacy isn't built on crowns or palaces. It's built on humanity. Diana's story inspires empathy even today. Seeing her comfort her children, embrace the sick, or laugh freely with friends makes it impossible to reduce her to a simple title. She was far more than the people's princess. She was a woman who made the world feel less distant, less divided, and more human, and that's why her photographs still matter. They are not just memories. They are lessons in compassion, resilience, and the courage to live authentically even under unbearable pressure. So, what do you think? Do these hidden details about Diana's private moments change how you see her? Do you believe she ever received the justice she deserved? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Click the next video on your screen, you won't want to miss it.